We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Let us continue our chapter about the debugging process for advanced dynamic malware analysis. The next topic is about the types of breakpoint. So basically, 3 types of breakpoints: software execution, hardware execution breakpoint, and conditional breakpoint. So let us see about the software execution breakpoint. It is the default option for almost all the debuggers, and which is used to cause a program to stop when a program instruction is executed. Okay, and the debugger implements a software breakpoint by overwriting the first byte of an instruction with 0xCC. Here we can see the byte 0xCC, and this instruction is normally executed with that is instruction name is int3. Okay, and the breakpoint interrupt designed for the use with the debugger, and when the 0xCC instruction is executed, the operating system generates an exception and transfer control to the debugger. Let's look at in the example. Here we can see one instruction, push EBP. The function is starting from this first instruction, and the value is 0x55. Okay, and for the same instruction, the value in memory dump, that is 0xCC. Here we can see in second point. Okay, so this is the push EBP is corresponds to the opcode for 0x55, and in disassembling view, right, and here it is corresponds to 0xCC in the memory dump view, which represents the breakpoint, right. See, in disassembly view, the debugger shows the original instruction, this one, and but in a memory dump produced by the program other than the debugger, so it shows the actual bytes stored at that location. Okay. So if these bytes change during the execution of the program, the breakpoint will not work. Okay. So if the 0xCC byte is changed, then we can say that the breakpoint won't work. And if other code reads to the memory containing the breakpoint, it will read as a 0xCC instead of the original byte, that is 0x55. So code that verifies the integrity with notice the discrepancy. So here we can see that any code that verifies the integrity of that particular function, that will notice about the discrepancy between these two things, and in that case the software execution breakpoint fails, right. Now the next hardware execution breakpoint. It is designed in x86 architecture, and it is supported by the particular dedicated hardware register. So every time the processor executes an instruction, there is a hardware to detect if the instruction pointer is equal to the breakpoint address or not. So that is the main functionality of the hardware execution breakpoint, and it is done through the dedicated hardware register. And normally 4 hardware debug register is used, that is DR0 to DR3 for address is the breakpoint, and the DR7 register is used to store the control information. Hardware breakpoint have another advantage over the software breakpoint, that they can be set to break on access rather than on execution. Okay. So it is a good part for hardware execution. And another thing that I would like to share with you, that normally hardware execution breakpoints have one drawback, that only 4 hardware registers store the breakpoint address, and it is normally related with the read write or either for both the functionality. Another drawback that there are 8 debug registers from DR0 to DR7, right, on the chipset, but only 6 are used. And the first 4, DR0 through DR3, that is for the considered as a debug register and store the address of the breakpoint, that is in DR7. And the debug control register store the information whether the values in DR0 through DR3 are enabled, and whether they represent read, write, or execution breakpoints. So malicious program can modify these registers and often interfere with the debuggers. So it is one drawback. We can say that sometimes malicious program can modify the registers, and it may cause the again the breakpoint may fails in that case. But in x86 chips have a feature to protect against this failure of hardware execution breakpoint by setting the general detect flag, and this flag is set in the DR7. So with this general detect flag, we can trigger a breakpoint to occur the prior to executing any instruction like move instruction, MOV, and that is accessing debug register. And this will allow us to detect when our debug register is changed. So this is a kind of a flag. We can say that it will detect the things and will pop up us, right? Next is the conditional breakpoints. The conditional breakpoints are a part of software breakpoints, and it breaks only if the condition is true, right? For example, suppose you have a breakpoint on the function that is getProc address, and this will break every time that a getProc address is called. But suppose that you want to break only if the parameter being passed to the getProc address is reg set value. So this can be done with the conditional breakpoint. In that case, the condition would be the value on the stack that corresponds to that first parameter. Okay. So when you set a breakpoint based on some condition or based on some parameter, at that time the conditional breakpoint is very much useful. And normally it is implemented as a software breakpoints, and the debugger always receives the break. If the condition is not met, it resumes the execution without alerting the user. And again, it is a little bit time consuming process to use the conditional breakpoint. And conditional breakpoint, frequently accessed instruction can slow the program down, and sometimes it is so much slow and never finish. So this is one drawback of the conditional breakpoint. Okay, now next part is about the exception. See, exceptions are the principal way that a debugger gains the control of running program, right? And normally in programming, we used to apply the exceptions for like error like divide by zero and invalid memory access, like. So the same way, exceptions are not normally specific for the malware or malware analysis or debugging process, but they are often caused by bugs, which is why debuggers usually handle them. So again, it is very much important part to learn about the exception for the debugging process. Okay, so the breakpoints generate the exception, and basically it goes by three way of either for invalid memory access or division by zero or any other condition, or sometimes sometimes we can also set for the user specific condition, right? And two types of chance that is given in exceptions, that is first and second chance exception. Now what is first chance and second chance exception? So we can say that when an exception occur while a debugger is at edge, the program being debugged and stop executing, and debug is given a first chance at control. For example, a calculator program. Consider a calculator program in which it could register an exception handler for the divide by zero exception. And if a program executes a divide by zero operation, the exception handler can inform the user of the error and continue to the execution. So this is what happens when a program runs without the debugger attached. This is, we can consider as the first chance of exception. Now about the second chance. So when a debugger receives a second chance exception, it means that program would have crashed if the debugger were not attached. The debugger must resolve the exception to allow the program to run. And normally second chance exception cannot be ignored, and that usually means that the malware doesn't like the environment in which it is running. So it is important to look after the second chance exceptions. We cannot ignore while we apply the debugging process in malware analysis. Common exceptions. There are several common exceptions, and the most common exceptions is one that occur when the INT3 instruction is executed. And debugger has a special code to handle the INT3 exceptions, but operating system treats this as any other exception. And in single stepping is also implemented as an exception within the operating system. In a flag, the flags register called trap flag is used for the single stepping debugging process. So when the trap flag is set, the processor executes one instruction, then generates an exception. For example, in a memory violation, memory access violation exception is generated when the code tries to access the location that it cannot access. And this exception usually occur because the memory address is invalid. But it may occur because the memory is not accessible due to the access control protection. So these are the two we can say that this exception may generate in this for these two functionalities, right? So certain instruction can be executed only when the processor is in privilege mode and when the program attempts to execute them outside the privilege mode. The processor generates the exception. Here I would say that privilege mode, that is considered as a kernel mode, and non-privilege mode, that is normally considered as a user mode. And examples of privilege instruction are one that write to the hardware or modify the memory page table. Okay. Here we can see a list of exceptions divided by zero error, then single step debugging exceptions. These all are generated by the Intel Pentium and Intel older version of the processors. You can identify exceptions value, okay, and hexadecimal value and their description for current available processor types also. Now next part is about the modifying execution with a debugger. See, debugger can be used to change the program execution, right? You can change the control flag, the instruction pointer, or code itself to modify the way that a program executes. For example, to avoid a function call, you could set a breakpoint where the function is called. When the breakpoint is hit, and you could set the instruction pointer to instruct after the call. So thus preventing the call from taking place, right? So if the function is particularly important, the program might not run properly when it is skipped, or it might be crash. So if the program does not impact other areas of the program might continue running without any problem. About testing of functionality. You can run a function directly without waiting for the main code to use it. You will have to set the parameters, and destroys the program stack, and the program won't run properly when functionality is complete. Okay, so it is a small case. We can say that the execution of program with debugger, either we can apply this functionality by skipping the program or by testing the functionality, right? Or by modifying the program execution in practice. Now, how to do this? See here one example about real virus is given. That here these functionality of this real virus perform differently depending on the language settings of the computer infected. And if the language setting was simplified to Chinese language, then the virus uninstall itself and does not harm. Then if the language setting with the English language, and it displays the pop-up that poorly translated the message like your logs no good. And if language setting is set with the Japanese or Indonesian, then the virus overwrote the hard drive with some garbage or random data, and in efforts to destroy the computer. Right? So this is the functionality view of a particular real virus. Okay. Now here the code is available. It shows that the assembly code for differentiating between the language settings. The first program calls the function that get system default LCID. Then next, based on the return value, the program calls one of the three different functions. The local ID, that is 409 for English, then 411 for Japanese, 421 for Indonesian, and C04 for Chinese. And here one breakpoint is set for instruction move, that is EBP plus real 4 comma EX. Now we can use a debugger to force the code to run this code path without changing the settings on our system by using this breakpoint to change the return value. See, EX would store the value of 0409 that you can change the EX in the debugger to this value 411. Then continue the running process so that it would execute the code as if you were running on Japanese language system. Okay, 4411. So you can try this, okay, experiment and identify what happened. So here in this chapter, I would like to conclude with see, debugger is a very critical process, and debugging is very critical process, and debugger is a critical tool for obtaining the information about the malicious program that would be difficult to obtain through the disassembly alone. Okay, that's why the importance of debugging as well as disassembly, both in this malware analysis. Okay, and it requires some practice to analyze the malware effectively with debugger. Okay, and specifically here we have discussed about the OLE-DBG and WinDBG debuggers. Okay, so in the next session we'll discuss about detail about the OLE-DBG and WinDBG debuggers. Thank you.